We use them in claims. We also use them for underwriting inspections. We also have a lot of contractors who really want to use drones as well. We have drone technology taking high quality photos. And now we're putting machine learning and AI on top of it to actually understand the anomalies. And then we can take it one step further to understand what the best method is for repair. Now we start to develop that common language across the ecosystem, so then it's not an argument anymore about what should be paid, what shouldn't be paid, and what we think is the right thing to do in this situation.
Welcome to the Elevating Leaders series, where we go beyond the headlines and straight to the people who are redefining insurtech and business transformation. We've caught up with the visionaries and the pioneers that are currently driving the industry forward, bringing you exclusive insights, strategies, and stories you won't hear anywhere else. If you're ready to go deeper, this is your front row seat to the future of insurance. I'm Miguel Edwards, and this is 5 Minutes.
Jenna, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us here on another episode of 5 Minutes. Appreciate you making the investment. I know it's super busy for you here at ITC, so thank you so much for joining us.
What a fun event, and so excited that you get to do this with so many different folks. So thanks for having me.
No, thanks, thank you. So my entry question all the time, because I'm always fascinated to hear this story, is how the heck did you get pulled into insurance, or did you, in fact, right in college say, you know what, I want to be an insurance professional?
Not gonna lie to you, I wanted to be an actuary when I grew up.
Oh my gosh, you're number 4 today. Oh my gosh.
So I have always loved math.
Okay.
But I knew that I didn't want to be a teacher.
Okay.
I didn't have the patience for it. I tried to teach my little cousin how to read when he was much younger, and he also had like severe ADHD before that was really in vogue, and I just knew at that point in time, like, teaching is not my calling. So I went to one of my math teachers and I was like, what can I do with math that doesn't require teaching? Because you don't know what that is.
Yeah.
So he goes, okay, I don't mean to send you off with some books and say, hey, go read about it and tell me what you think, but that's exactly what I'm gonna do. So he sent me, literally the first thing that you can do is actuary. Yeah. So I thought I was going to be an actuary when I grew up. So then I started with Farmers Insurance as an adjuster to really get my foot in the door. So I set out to really do what I wanted to do, because I ended up going into product management. But I feel like once you get into claims, and especially if that's where you start, that's kind of the pace that you're indoctrinated in, which is very high pace, very fast. And then you go over to where the tumbleweeds go.
Very deliberative.
Yeah, if it takes 3 weeks or 3 years, it's not really going to make a difference. And I really got to learn what it was to actually manage a portfolio of insurance products within specific states. I had responsibility for profitability of 6 states within the Midwest, which was fascinating, because you have two parts to the equation.
Sure.
It's either you take rate or you figure out how to not be paying out so much in claims. So whether that's underwriting, policy restrictions, policy language, things like that. So it was so fun, but my calling is really in claims.
Okay.
So gravitated back and then switched over to the vendor side. So you want to talk about
the dark side.
The dark side. That's when the pace really increases. So had a great opportunity to work with a number of fantastic vendors, and landing here at EagleView now, and been here for the last 4 months.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about your role at EagleView. What have you done?
So I am VP of Enterprise Growth here at EagleView.
Okay.
What this means is actually still a little bit of a work in progress. I have such a passion for bringing data to carriers in ways that are actually useful to help them actually make their operations more efficient. Because I'm that data nerd at heart, I'm actually even going back to school right now to get my master's in data science.
Oh, beautiful.
So EagleView was really the perfect fit, because I have the claims experience. I have a full understanding of the claims products because I used to use them back when they first came out when I was an adjuster. So now it comes full circle, but now we're sitting on just mountains of data and over decades of imagery that we can actually extract data from, and how can we actually make that more useful to help the whole entire industry from underwriting to claim just be that much more effective. So one of the really cool things that I've done with a couple of my key carrier partners is we actually have run a couple of analyses to say, hey, of all the claims that you've handled over the last quarter, give me just the claim number and the address. And you just give me an Excel spreadsheet, and I'm gonna give you as much data that we have available to us on all of those policies. And what we've actually realized is that we've got some operational inefficiencies of where these claims are actually getting handled. So there's some interesting things like Adjusters can't get up on steep and high roofs anymore. Nobody is steep and high certified, so we use ladder assist resources for that. So how can we actually leverage this data to get better operationalization of your resources?
Right.
Are you sending the right person in the right place? And here's how your performance was over the last quarter. You might think you have this figured out,
right?
But 24% of the time, they didn't. And like, what a huge impact.
Yeah.
And it's just through curiosity, partnering with our carrier. So a little bit of a tangent there, but I'm brought in to really help deepen these relationships with our carrier partners.
Yeah.
And then furthermore, like, what is it that we can actually be doing to partner with our carriers to solve problems that they're facing down the barrel every day?
Yeah, I got it. I want to geek out for a second
Please.
here. I get the idea of using geospatial data or imagery, I should say, to identify a missing roof shingle or something. I get that.
Yeah.
But how do you go from there to data, to actual structured data? Talk me through that process.
Oh, you are nerding out. Because imagery for the sake of imagery doesn't do anything.
Right.
Right? Imagery is great if you want to look at individual properties, but nobody is looking to handle things at scale with individual properties.
Right.
Yes, everything has to filter down to the individual, but it's really that extract layer that sits on top of it and that makes or break the difference.
Right.
So the cool part about EagleView is not only do we have over 25 years worth of imagery, we can tell you how our property has changed over those 25 years. We can even get at some cool things with some of our partnerships who actually tell you what the roof age is, because we can tell the difference. Hey, if we flew this in 2010, and then we flew this again in 2011, and we see that the roof has actually changed in its material type, guess what? We can get down to a pretty close roof age, right?
Of course.
So those are some of the insights that we're able to tee up just from the rich image history.
Yep.
That nobody else in the marketplace really has that rich data library that we have. It's called Vintages, if you didn't know.
Yeah, I love that.
But what's even cooler than just having the depth of the image library is we're actually agnostic with what sort of a data layer you want to put on top of it. So we have about 65 attributes that you can actually use. We also have partnerships with some of those analytics providers out there in the marketplace, Cape Analytics being one of them, and we have about 3 or 4 other ones too, and some other ones coming online here soon.
Sure.
So you don't even have to single source as a carrier where you're getting the data from. So should something happen, you will always have continuity of the data insight that you need, because we're really agnostic. So we're that imagery layer, we have our own analytics, and we're also open to integrate with everybody else. So you can really go ahead and use our imagery in whatever way that you want. And we don't have a claim to dictate how you would like to have that consumed or have that data layer derived. The coolest things that I've seen, though, is there's actually some self-modeling AI tools out there. And we're also getting some of our carrier partners who are super savvy and actually creating their own AI models off of our imagery.
Really?
Which gets really fun. So now we get carriers who are actually owning their own analytics, but they're owning their own AI. So when the Department of Insurance starts to interrogate, hey, how did you come up with this? Or what goes behind the algorithm? Are there biases in your algorithms? They've made it themselves.
So is it kind of like propensity for loss type of analytics? Is that what they're doing, or?
It's So there's a couple of different ways that they can use it.
Yeah.
So there are ways to actually run against your whole entire PIF. Like, what is it that you're actually looking for?
Okay.
So as an example, my general manager, he's fantastic. He was kind of a product guy, and he oversees all of insurance. He goes, hey, just here in the city of Houston, I want to identify all the pipe jacks on every single house. And he had the AI model trained within about 5 minutes.
Wow.
So then you can, again, it's an example.
Yeah.
Nobody really cares about pipe jacks,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
what
but
if there
put it
are
on
things that
something
you
else.
are concerned about, like
Sure.
AC units on commercial buildings.
Right.
So you can start to build that yourself, and then you can run re-inspection processes off of that. So there's so many ways. And then to take it one step further, the imagery to the data, but how do you get that to actions and outcomes?
Right.
Is really that next step. So that's how you have to get operationalized, and that's where we find, hey, where does this data best fit at the best point in time for it to actually be useful and actionable for you to drive the results that you're looking for.
Got it. How is, Jenna, how is the kind of the evolution of weather risk impacting your product? I got to believe that your product is just like a just-in-time kind of type of thing, where it's like, holy cow, we really need this now.
Oh, well, and you're saying this like what, a 1 week post event from
Exactly.
Hurricane
Yeah,
Milton?
I'm a Floridian, so yeah.
Oh, my heart goes out
St.
to
Pete
you.
on top of that.
Oh, my sister just sold her house in Tampa.
Really?
30 days ago.
Oh my gosh.
Closed on it. Yeah.
So she escaped Helene as well.
She did.
Yeah.
Yes. But we pulled the imagery on her house and her house is fine.
Okay.
So that is one of the.
Wait, hold on. We got to go back. So
Yeah.
So you guys get that real-time flyover data?
Yeah, this
Fast?
is where things get really cool.
Yeah.
So this is where EagleView shines.
Okay.
Because not only do we have the the pre-event imagery because we're already flying the whole country.
Yep.
We love our customers so much. We are flying the country every year to capture your policyholders' structures.
Okay.
So we can use that for a lot of different things. We can use it for claims, for roof measurements. We're taking the pictures for you, so you don't have to do it.
Right.
But we love our customers so much that when these events are coming, we're staging our airplanes close enough to be effective and efficient, but far enough away so they don't get damaged.
Of course.
And we're literally bolting them down in the hangars because we are trying to get that close. So as soon as that storm is past, we are flying. And we're doing that. We do that for government. We do that for insurance. We do that for all of our customers. Construction can use it as well because ultimately, our goal is we want policyholders, they're not even policyholders to us, we want people back in their houses as fast as possible. And if we can provide the mechanisms to do that, even before anybody else can even access their properties, that gets them just one step closer to getting fixed. So if you haven't been back to your house yet, I can show you what you're.
We have.
I can show you what it looks
we're
like.
okay, fortunately.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
So that evolution of weather risk for me, it seems to me like it's just driving this constant need for innovating on that product set, so you can get data faster, more deeper data and analytics faster for that response. That's what I'm hearing.
Higher quality.
Higher quality.
Yeah. So we're actually flying all of these events at 1-inch GSD. 1-inch GSD is actually the best GSD, ground sample distance imagery, that you can actually get from a fixed wing aircraft.
Okay.
So this is essentially the best imagery that you can get without flying a drone.
Okay.
And that drone would be essentially, 20 feet to 30 feet above.
Right.
We have to fly at a much higher elevation than that, but the details that you can see is just, it is sick.
Yeah.
It is getting so granular. So then when we take that one step further, like we were talking about earlier, the amount of data that you can derive now off of the high quality imagery really starts to become limitless, because now we can really start to hone in and we can actually call out damage to shingles, damage to tires, anomalies that we're actually detecting without sending resources out there and incurring the expense of seeing what's going on with it.
Yeah, I can go down this whole other rabbit hole, particularly being from Florida, wondering what that type of technology is going to do to solve some of the problems that we have with our claims environment in Florida.
Those are unsolvable.
Yeah, right. Because it really, a quick funny story.
Yeah.
Literally today, I got a LinkedIn message from a guy who I guess did not look to see whether or not I was in insurance, but he's basically a public adjuster from Florida. And because my profile says Tampa, Florida, I guess he figures, so he's like, let me know how I can help you maximize your insurance claim. And man, I'm like fighting with everything that I've got to not write this guy the nastiest email I can imagine. But on a serious note though, I imagine that your technology could be used by insurance companies to help mitigate some of that risk around the, kind of the excessiveness of the claim environment. So
you bring up a really good point, because there's always this friction between the insurance carriers, specifically claims departments and contractors, right? And I actually think that I'm going to nerd out just a little bit.
Go for it.
I think that we need an adversarial process to get to the right outcomes.
Of course.
So I'm not advocating that it is as bad as what it is right now, but just like with our legal system, for all of its flaws, I think that it's beautiful in the way that you have both sides fighting for what they believe is right, and I think that is how you get to the best outcome. So I think that there always has to be an element of that, because if there isn't, something's not happening correctly on one side, right? So, but I think that there is a standard in which we can actually create common language for us to be able to talk about these things and start to come up with an alignment and an agreement as far as like what is actual damage. What does this, when we see this type of damage, how does this get repaired? So what we're doing is, in addition to the imagery, fixed aircraft. EagleView, we also have drones. So we have a network of drone operators that we can actually deploy for these events. So we use them in claims. We also use them for underwriting inspections. But now, and we also have a lot of contractors who really want to use drones as well. So now we get to a really interesting space where we have drone technology taking high quality photos. And now we're putting machine learning and AI on top of it to actually understand the anomalies. And then we can take it one step further to understand what the best method is for repair. Now we start to develop that common language across the ecosystem, so then it's not an argument anymore about what should be paid, what shouldn't be paid, and what we think is the right thing to do in this situation. But only once you have a consistent data set and once you have a consistent language and nomenclature around that, I think, can we get there. But that's what excites me so much about the drone technology, is because it is so good, and AI and our machine learning is getting so good in these instances of detecting like what is actually a hail hit versus just blistering because it's exposed to the sun 270 days of the year or whatever it happens to be. So, and we have contractors. We have a, it's not a little known secret. We have a really big side of our business that services construction. Because construction believes in our measurements and what we do to actually repair the roofs. And there's even so much that they're ordering off of it. So we even already have the network available of good actors that we can really bring together. And what we're trying to do, and contractors are saying like, hey, we want insurance carriers to accept this because it doesn't have bias. Right? It's not going one way or another. And if we have that consistent, we don't care what the outcomes are. We're happy that our technology is being used for good to get the policyholder and the customers back to where they need. But whoever, whether it's a $10,000 check or a $20,000 check, doesn't make a difference to us. So that is where things can go, and I think that we're starting to get closer there, and I think we have willing parties on both sides, but we're a long ways out.
You mentioned the term AI, and of course we've got to dive into that because we're here at ITC. We're like, you cannot have a conversation about that. But what I'd like to ask you to do, Jenna, is take your EagleView hat off, because you guys obviously sound at least like you guys are a tech native type of organization. So of course you're going to be able to round that curve and you're going to incorporate it. But if you think about the industry writ large, what are you thinking about, or how are you thinking about how AI is? Are we ready? Because we've been talking about it for a long time. We're starting to see it being adopted. Where are you in terms of a life cycle for AI right now in insurance?
We're not as far as we need to be. I think, throw in some shade. Like we're gonna get lapped. Like I think like our customer service is already lapped by the likes of Amazon, same day shipping, things like that. And we've been talking about that for a long time. But this is just that next level of evolution that like is just going to lap us again if we don't start to adopt it. And what I think is hard is like we're in such a heavily regulated industry that we're also in the business of mitigating risk. Right? So having those two things in our ethos, I think makes it hard. But I think that AI has to meet carriers and solutions providers and vendors where they are at today, right now in their current process. Right? Because like I can sell a vision that, hey, we can get to a point where estimates can be fully automated and a check sent to the policyholder. But like they're just not there yet. The infrastructure's not there yet. So like how can we start to do little bits and pieces of this? Such as like self-driving cars. Now I can parallel park it. Now I can, there's different levels to this, and I think we can start to graduate into it. But man, I wish we could go faster. I hear you. I wish we could go faster as well. But if I take a slightly optimistic look at it, Jenna, I've been in the industry for 25 years, and it feels like, at least for me, this is the fastest we've ever moved on something. I guess that's a sad statement, right? That given how slow we're moving, that this is the fastest I've seen. I mean, I love that. You're right. Your mic drop. I mean, for real. No, you are 100% right. So
it's a sad statement then, I guess.
It on both fronts. Yes, it is the fastest, and yes, that is the sad statement. But yeah, I haven't thought of it that way. So I'm so glad that you pointed that out. And I think other parts of the value chain are picking it up faster. I think distribution is actually picking it up much faster than claims and underwriting. What really excites me is seeing underwriting like making their own models. I'm like, like you're my kind of people. Like like own your own destiny, you know, because only if you know, and you're building your own stuff, can you actually fix it or change it, kind of when you need to. So what I want to do is make AI not a black box.
Right.
And I think that's really where that's how the industry has to have it served up to them.
Right.
Because if it remains a black box, they're at risk of getting called out on it at any point in time.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody today that was giving a great example of how that breaks bad when Apple and Goldman Sachs partnered for their Apple Card. I don't know if you remember that. Women were getting a lower credit limit than men, just across the board. And they asked the representative on stage. They said, "Why is this happening?" And they said, "I don't know." Because it was an ML model that was actually making the credit score, the actual credit limit determinations, and they didn't know why it was happening. Obviously, there was an implicit bias that was built into the modeling that needed to be corrected. Imagine that happening on the claims adjudication front, right? Just en masse, claims being improperly adjudicated, and the regulator says, "Why is this happening?" And carrier's like, "I don't know."
Yeah, I just bought it. Yeah, I didn't understand what I was. Yeah, and that's unacceptable.
100%.
And if any of us were asked that and said, "I don't know," we would be fired.
Yeah, 100%.
So, no, and what makes me, God, you say that, is like, my head is going to like, is it correlation or causation? Like, are females actually, worse off at paying their bills? Like, I don't know. I
would bet it's actually the opposite. Everything I've ever read says that women are more responsible than men.
In my household, I kind of manage that, but most of the females I know, but that's the demographic that I hang with.
Yeah, right.
So I also have some bias in my sample size, but that's fascinating.
No, but so I tie that back to what you said in terms of where you're seeing the adoption. So I'll summarize. You said on the front end, that's kind of more co-pilot type of use cases versus claims adjudication. Underwriting is more decisioning. We're scared of that right now.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so, but we're over here, we're okay with co-pilot. Make a suggestion. I'm still going to use my own human intuition to figure out where I go. But you're not making a decision for me.
I love that distinction. Did you just come up with that?
Well, no, you did. I just paraphrased it.
Oh, that's genius.
You see?
I gotta talk to myself more often. That's where the good ideas come from. I love, and you know what? We don't want to put our ultimate outcome into something else's hands that we don't fully understand. You know, and I think that's why, I don't drive a car that drives itself.
Yeah. I feel like that's kind of where we're headed. Is where it's just about how do we. And I think to your point about transparency, once we can see how the models are thinking, we'll be more willing to give it more latitude, right? That's the piece.
Yeah, it's more explain your thought process.
Exactly.
And personally, I love AI.
Yeah.
I use it every single day. I use ChatGPT. I mean, I feel like I actually force myself to write my own emails because I feel like I'm going to lose the habit.
Yeah.
If I keep on relying on this, so it's
for sure.
You got to choose. Just because it can do this, should it? I think the answer is yes.
Yeah. It's funny. I mean, I've got 4 kids, and 3 of them still in school, and we have the AI discussion all the time around how to use it. And where I've landed, and particularly as a consultant, where I've landed is. My time is money, and my clients are paying for my time. So if I can be more productive with my time, that benefits my client. As opposed to someone saying, "Well, does your client know that they're paying AI?" No, they're paying me. But the question I would then get to for you is, I'm thinking about rounding the curve from a human capital perspective, from just kind of talent and our ability to embrace AI as an industry. Yeah. Where's your head at on that right now? Like, are we ready from a talent perspective to take AI to the next level?
I'm going to be a little provocative and say yes. We're aging into it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I'm going to say we're getting it's kind of a changing of guards that's happening right now. I feel it. I feel it in my gut. I feel it in this conference.
Yes.
I feel it in this room. Like, there is a distinct change, and I think we now have I got goosebumps, right? I think so. Just because it's so cool. Because now we got the people who aren't being forced to accept the answer of this is just how it's always been done. that mantra is retiring, you know, along with, the workforce that created those things, which is hard to let go of, what you created, but it's making way, I think, for a whole new generation to start to make an impact. And the young leaders that I'm seeing coming into the space, I love how they look at me like I'm crazy when I say this is how we do things. This is how this happens.
Yes.
They think I'm nuts, and I'm like, you know what? That's a really good point. I feel dumb for even saying that this is the way that things are, but let's figure out how we can change it.
100%. It was so funny, Jenny. You just reminded me of a conversation. I was walking with Paul, our producer, walking down a hallway, and I'm saying to myself, every time I come here, I don't know, is it that the crowd is getting younger or if I'm getting older? I can't figure it out. He's like, it's probably both.
Probably a mix.
Yeah, but it is really
agree.
fascinating. I walk around and it's just, to be in insurance at this time feels so exciting. Just the amount of youth and diversity that I'm seeing. It's just fascinating.
Usually I'm the only female at any given table.
Yes.
And I'm looking around and I'm with 2 or 3 others. I mean, we got 3 in this room right here. That is not, I still get that, don't worry. It's still there. But how fun is it?
It is.
And I think it's our duty to advocate for them, just like we were advocated for.
100%. So along those lines, and just to close us out, we've got 9,000 insurance professionals running around here. This is, an exciting, energetic event. Other than seeing Boys to Men, what are you excited about taking home from the conference?
For me, it's all about, I don't get a lot of time in the sessions, and I'm trying to figure out if that's a miss or not. But I really optimize towards spending time, because we don't see people all the time anymore like we used to. So I optimize relationships. I'm trying to see people every minute of every day, and just those touch points that bring meaning to the other side of the screen.
Agreed.
It's already been so impactful just being here today, and I can't wait for tomorrow and for Boys to Men.
Who doesn't want to see
I grew up through the 90s.
ABC, BBD, the East Coast home. I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jenna. This has been such a pleasure for me. This is a great, exciting conversation. And I can't wait for you guys to come back on the show as EagleView's products continue to develop.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining this episode of 5 Minutes. If you've enjoyed our discussion, we'd love for you to share it with anyone else you think might find it interesting. Also, please subscribe on whatever podcast platform you're listening on and hit that bell to stay on top of the game with our practical 5-minute episodes. We look forward to seeing you again next week.